Conservative Caucus here, based in D.C. Jim and I had we dined with each other, right? And your lovely wife Myra last Monday, I think it was, at Butterworth. So I had fun there. Jim picked up the check. Thank you, Jim, for doing that. I take Jim out for dinner, and Jim buys. That's the kind of guy I like. Like, I invite him, and he buys. This is my kind of guy right here. Oh, Jim, thanks. But Jim, I've had two callers in a row in Virginia, right?
Yeah.
Both of them, one of them just lost a job to illegal cheap labor. The other one is saying that he's, managed to survive, but, he's only a handful of U.S. workers. Don't we have a law in Virginia? Aren't you supposed to get E-Verify? I mean, can you hire illegals and then pay them on a 1099?
Well, by the way, you mentioned on the 1099, they still have to come to work, but they get paid on 1099. Actually, the laws in most states, and I have to double check in Virginia, you're not allowed to call someone a contractor and then demand they be at work at a certain amount of time. So there are a lot of laws that can be used to deal with these situations, many of which we just ignore. And it's very interesting that we ignore a lot of what we have on the books in this country. Just the fact that we're in the place we are with illegal immigration as it is right now is evidence that we've had presidents, we've had other officials who have totally ignored the laws that are on the books. None of these illegals should be here legally. They should have been through a process for a long time. We don't need immigration reform. We need a reform in individuals who we elect to follow the laws that are already on the books. So there are a lot of tools that are available, and obviously Donald Trump is using them to the best of his ability to fix a seemingly insurmountable situation.
Well, Jim Pfaff, you're right. If you have to show up at a certain time, you can't be paid in a certain day. Like if you have to show up at a certain time, like you can't be paid on 1099. You can only be paid. Like we have people on 1099s that write for us for WV Sports Nation, for example, but they don't have to show up. I mean, if we have a story they want, they take the story, they write it, we edit it. If we publish it, they're paid on a 1099. They can do it at midnight for all I care. They just have to meet a deadline. That you can do that. But if somebody like Tyler's got to show up at 5:15 a.m. every day, Monday to Friday, well, that's not a contractor. He's got a job to do at a certain time. You can't pay him that way, but this is how they evade taxes. But isn't it illegal to hire an illegal in Virginia? Don't we have E-Verify? What happened to that?
It's illegal in Virginia, and it's illegal federally. Like it's right there on that I-9 form you're supposed to fill out for every one of your employees. So, which, by the way, when they do this illegal 1099 thing, they ostensibly get to bypass. But it is absolutely, it is a criminal act, a civil criminal act in most cases, to hire people who are not legal to work here. It's right there in the law if anyone just wants to enforce it. And people have been complaining about, whether Donald Trump's administration is making raids into businesses on the books. That is a process that can be undertaken when you see that there is an abuse. It's right there.
Jim, hang with us for another segment. I want to get through the riots, the communist revolution. It's kind of a dud. I want to get through Minnesota, the horrific killings there, and then President Trump's True Social last night, a blockbuster. All that coming up. Me and Jim Pfaff hanging, plus your calls, 888-480-JOHN. Stay with us.
Let's face it, losing weight isn't just about looks. It's about taking back control of your health. Tired of confusing diets and injections with harsh side effects? Meet Drop, an oral GLP-1 peptide from the Wellness Company that boosts metabolism, curbs cravings, and helps you burn fat. No needles needed. Just mix it with water and let your body do the rest. Right now, get $100 off and free shipping at twc.health/Godzilla and use the promo code Godzilla100 to save $100. Drop the weight. Take back your life.
Hi, folks. John Fredericks here. I've done my radio show in Virginia and Chesapeake and lived there for 14 years. Today, I'm proudly endorsing Dave Rosado for Chesapeake Sheriff. His opponent, Wallace Chadwick, is simply not telling the truth. He's pretending to be endorsed by a president he did nothing to elect. President Trump is not supporting Chadwick. As President Trump's former Virginia chairman in 2016 and 2020, and as delegation chairman in 2020, it is unbelievable to me that Chadwick thought this fabrication would stick. Dave Rosado is the pro-Trump MAGA candidate, tough on crime sheriff who is working with Kristi Noem and the Department of Homeland Security and Tom Homan and Team Trump to arrest, detain, and deport criminal illegals. Vote Dave Rosado on June 17th. Your life just may depend on it.
I'm Dave Rosado, and I paid for this message.
Lifestyles Unlimited member Lisa on how our educators and mentors share their knowledge.
The whole Lifestyles Unlimited team is just wonderful, and all the people in it is basically copying what I do so you could be successful.
Lifestyles Unlimited. Over 33 years teaching the real estate retirement roadmap. Text the word radio to 88007. That's radio to 88007. Join for just $297 and save 60%. Lifestyles Unlimited. Text radio to 88007.
Is your pet ready for some possum fun? At Creekside Pet Hotel in Kennesaw, every day is a tail-wagging adventure. Whether they're romping with friends in day camp, enjoying a staycation in our cozy boarding, or getting pampered in our luxury spa, we make sure every furry guest gets the royal treatment. Happy pets, wagging tails, and the best care. What more could they ask for? Book your pet's perfect getaway today at creeksidepethotel.com or give us a call at 770-422-4700.
From New York City to the world, it's Dominic Carter.
Let's keep it real. My white colleagues could never discuss this issue because they would be branded racist immediately. Welfare was one of the worst things that ever happened to black people.
Dominic Carter, weeknights on the John Fredericks Media Network.
I'm bold enough to do it, and I'm African American, and it's coming from a position of love.
Hit johnfredericksradio.com for showtimes in your city.
The best part about waking up in the morning is a great cup of coffee, and I get this every day with my 1775 coffee. It's rich, it's bold, best tasting coffee I've ever had. Single origin, farmed in Bolivia, 7,000 feet. It's always fresh, roasted daily. This is the best coffee you're ever going to get. Go to 1775coffee.com, 1775coffee.com. Promo code Godzilla, 10% off. It's going to make your day every day. You're on Outside the Beltway. I'm John Fredericks. I am your blowtorch of free speech in America, your oracle of the deplorables. This segment brought to you by Churchill Downs. You know, you've seen them out there, these scumbag skill games out there, right? You go to a 7-Eleven, you go to a Quick Shake in Virginia. Well, guess what? They're stealing money. They're illegal. They're not regulated. They shouldn't be there. But Paysomatic, they don't care. They've just put them in anyway. Talk about illegals coming in. These skill games are illegal. They prey on the most vulnerable in society, and they brought gambling to every corner, and they're illegal. They got voted out. They never got voted in. There's no referendum. When they tried to get passed through the General Assembly, Governor Youngkin vetoed it. They shouldn't be there. They're illegal, but they put them in anyway to take your money. It's unbelievable. There's no security. There's no regulations. They prey on kids and the elderly, people with very low income, fixed incomes. Local law enforcement needs to remove these illegal machines. Now, the Soros DAs refuse to do it because they're probably getting money from them too. I have no idea. Call your local sheriff and tell them if you see them, if you see it, get them out. Call your local sheriff and say, hey, here's what these skill games are. They're illegal. They're stealing money. They're preying on the vulnerable. Get them out. They're illegal. You file the complaint. They got to get them out. This message paid for by Churchill Downs. Okay, let's get back to Jim Pfaff. Jim, thanks for being with us. So President Trump, let's get to him first, and then we'll go down the line. President Trump putting a Truth Social out last night, probably on a plane on our way to Canada. Pretty comprehensive. And he says we're going to focus all of our illegal, all of our resources, our ICE resources on getting illegals out. We're going to focus them in the bluest cities, the sanctuary cities, where the crime is. We're going to get them out. And then we're going to go from there. But that's where the focus is. And he called them the Democrat Party shock troops. He called them their armies, so to speak, not in those words. And he said, this is basically their power base. And we're going to go in these cities one by one, and we're going to clean them out. Reaction.
It absolutely should be the case. Listen, it's clear in law. Okay, we ostensibly elect this Congress to pass laws on our behalf, and they ostensibly have authority to do so. And then a president signs them, and then once they're on the books, unless there's a clear unconstitutional purpose in the law that can be adjudicated in a court of law, it's the law. So the reality that we watch these Democrats get all incensed over cleaning up the mess that they created, and we're supposed to feel guilty about it, that Donald Trump's supposed to sit back and feel guilty about it, is absurd. He has every bit of authority to do exactly what he is doing. In law, the president has authority when there is an illegal in this country to utilize his executive power through the agencies created to do this, which in this case is ICE primarily, but the FBI can get involved in others. But it is ICE's authority to go in and arrest these people. They cannot be thwarted and stopped legally by these cities. And any mayor that resists it is breaking the law. They're breaking the law on the books. Listen, we have a situation in this country right now where we have removed justice. We have taken it and undermined it in every way. This happened with the lawfare against Donald Trump is one of the primary examples of it. But when you look at how Joe Biden ignored immigration law for 4 years and implemented a process that is antithetical not only to the law in the books, but to the protection of the American people, then I'm not going to sit around and worry that Democrats are upset, and Donald Trump shouldn't do so either. So I read this post, and I agree with it 100%. The only factor that comes into play when you're taking these kinds of stands as an elected official is the political one, which is the one that matters least in this particular case. There's obviously going to be some political backlash. Certainly this weekend with this so-called No Kings stuff, you have people coming out and they're expressing a political opinion, sometimes violently, so they should be arrested, other times not violently. But, you know, I joked around over the weekend on my ex. I said this No Kings thing seems to be working. We didn't have a king beforehand, and we don't have one now. You know, it's like, you can make your political argument all day long. That does not mean that you are valid. You can make it urgently. You can raise your voice making your point, and that does not make it right. What is right is for Donald Trump to do what he said he's going to do on Truth Social over the weekend.
Listen, a lot of people upset, though. We had callers earlier, Jim Pfaff, with us from the Conservative Caucus. A lot of people upset earlier that they were deprioritizing the removal of illegals on farms and restaurants in non-major blue city areas. Like we just heard 2 people in Virginia losing their jobs because we have illegals there. So we had a couple callers upset by that, and they thought that President Trump was not following through on his promise to get all these illegals out. What is your reaction to that?
I think you have to absolutely follow the law with them as well, too. That's just my opinion. There is a process that allows people like that to work in this country potentially legally. It's the H-2B. There's under H-2B, you can have seasonal workers in working in farms. I think we could reform that process to allow a more permanent status for people who meet the requirements if we want to. But right now, they're not here legally. And you have to treat that the same way you treat everything else. And I think it's really sad that we would have to deal with it that way. But there are still workers that are struggling in this economy. And you know, necessity is the generator of great triumph moving forward. And people can figure that out. But there's no doubt it would be a short-term hardship without. But again, they're here illegally. We've allowed this to flourish for too long. We have to stop it.
Is the president getting leveraged by business entities that are going into Lutnick, Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, and into Besant, and just whining about cheap labor and their businesses are going to go under, and their farms has nobody to till the land and harvest the crops? Is it because they go in there whining?
Oh, there's surely a bunch of that takes place. And the White House receives as much lobbying as Congress does. You have these organizations coming in to do that. But this is the same argument we've been making all this time. I mean, all the way back into the Bush administration, when there was a discussion about comprehensive, immigration reform, which just meant amnesty like 1986 and let everybody do whatever they want. There are two key reasons that we've gone down this path. One is corporate interests wanting cheap labor. And by the way, I mean, everyone wants inexpensive labor. I get that, but you got to follow by the rules. But the second reason that we go down this path is because we don't want to do the icky stuff that makes it difficult in people's minds. We don't believe that it is, kind and right. We've given it's really at its root very similar to the DEI problem that we have, right? People will twist something to try to get a different outcome that they're not telling you they really want. And in this case, it is a flood of illegals to come in and be able to fill the gaps, frankly, of the congressional census.
Well, you think about what they're doing here, right? They have these businesses, and my wife Ann runs our business. She's the CEO, and she is a stickler. Just the 1099 thing, like anybody that doesn't fit that to the exact T, she'll convert them to an employee immediately. I mean, she doesn't mess around with it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when you're paying these people on a 1099 and there's no reporting mechanism, they're not paying taxes. They're also getting food stamps. They're getting free Medicaid. I mean, they're getting other allowances. So they're getting the money. They're off the books. They're not paying the right taxes. The employer's not paying the right taxes. But then the taxes are going to basically give them food and shelter and medical care taken away from legitimate citizens who now are losing their jobs, who've been paying the taxes. I mean, the whole thing is insane, Jim.
No, it is. Milton Friedman, a lot of people are bringing in the famous Nobel economics laureate, has some things to say about, prior to 1913, we had free immigration. I mean, people could come in and out of the country, right? Well, and he thinks that was the best system. Frankly, it's not a bad system if you don't have the second factor that no one wants to remember that he talked about, which is when you give away welfare, that system cannot work.
Right.
It will not work.
Like
and when you had this hue and cry in Congress when Chip Roy and some of these guys were pushing for the Medicaid reform in the reconciliation package, and people were just going nuts. You've got people in the Senate going nuts over that. And I'm sitting back saying, what is wrong with this? We should not have illegals using these programs. That's not what they are for. They're ostensibly to help the American people. So there's a lot of twisted rhetoric because people are either scared or they have an ulterior motive.
Right, I'll tell you what, Tyler, hold these ads. We're going to get to Dr. McCullough in a minute. Let's get to Tony in North Carolina for Jim and I, line one, and then we'll get to Dr. McCullough. Tony, go ahead. Go ahead, Tony. You're live. You there, Tony? Okay. No, Tony. Okay, Jim, thanks for being with us. People want to follow you. Where do they go?
They go to theconservativecaucus.org. That's our website, theconservativecaucus.org.
All right, Jim. Thank you. Dr. Peter McCullough, up next. Keep it right here.